Hi, it's me, Irene, and I'm here to do my part of the presentation on Mexican traditions, both old and new. I will be covering different traditions such as a Catholic wedding, quinceañeras, field work, Dia de los Muertos, Halloween, La Posada, Christmas, and Easter Sunday, and Cuaresma. And I'm going to start out with field workers. Back in the 1900s, Mexican immigrants would come over and take care of and do all the brutal work in the fields, usually because they were the only ones available or willing to do the type of work. During World War II, the United States was short on labor help, so they began what was called the Bracero program. The Bracero program was one in which millions of Mexican laborers were given the opportunity to cross the border to complete agricultural work. But during their contract, they were given housing and they earned minimum wage. However, they were not given visas, nor were they allowed to just immigrate here and remain here. Part of the contract was they knew up front that they would not become U.S. citizens by joining the Bracero program. Both middle and upper class Mexican men and women could often come and work as day laborers or farm workers and maids, and then they would return home to Mexico. Mexican Californians blended both old and new practices as they made use of both the English and Spanish language. Today, Mexicans are still coming from Mexico to work. However, there is no longer a Bracero program. They come here to work and do the field work that you and I do not want to do. It's still minimum wage and it's back-breaking work. They work the fields to earn money to send home to their families and or to try and get their families to come across the border. The booming agricultural economy makes it an endless amount of work for somebody to do, and they seem to be the only people willing to do it. Based on the information that I just gave you in regards to field work and field laborers, the tradition of Hispanic workers, field workers, is based on how much money they send home to their families. They did it back in the days of the braceros, and it still continues today. And it is somewhere upward in the millions that is sent home yearly to their families. Easter celebration is for the resurrection of Christ. However, today many Americans celebrate it more with the thought of boiling and decorating eggs and hiding them for the hunt. However, back in the days, the egg was used as to represent new life. The celebration of Cuaresma was celebrated 40 days of Lent with ashes on the forehead when you went to church to show your day of obligation. Many churches hold special services on Easter. Another tradition is quinceañeras. Quinceañeras is a coming of age for the young women. When they become 15, it was a time to celebrate them becoming a young woman and of age to get ready to get married. It was a way to let the society know that she was available and they were looking for suitors. Today in the United States we celebrate Sweet 16. Sweet 16 party is a coming of age for young women, but it's no longer to put them out there to be getting married. However, the two are intertwined because they are both connected to a church service in the coming of age and presenting them as a society, as a young woman who is ready to embark on a new journey in her life. Another tradition is Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos is a day to celebrate the lives of those who have passed on. Instead of mourning, we celebrate that to celebrate the lives that were spent here on earth. And we also, in the American tradition, celebrate Halloween. Halloween is more ghosts and goblins and witches, and it's not so much a celebration of life, but that of death. And so that's another tradition. Another tradition is Christmas. Christmas here is celebrated for the birth of Christ, and it is a one-day celebration, December 25th. For Hispanic Christmas tradition, the posadas are celebrated. And the posada is a recreation of Mary on the donkey and Joseph, who are searching for a room at the end. Usually in today's tradition, what they do is they go around and they have a small choir of children singing with them, requesting a place for them to sleep at the inn. During the traveling of going from home to home singing hymns, there would be no takers at the first initial homes. And once they reached their designation, the last home would accept them and allow them in, and they would offer them some sweet bread and hot chocolate, and this was representative of accepting Christ into your home. Weddings. Here in the United States, the wedding party is usually anywhere from just the maid of honor and the best man to a number of what's called bridesmaids and best men. And so what they do is you have like a huge wedding party. In Mexico, the tradition was just the bride and groom, and then they would have padrinos. And the padrinos would offer things such as the lazo. And the lazo was to show a unification of two people becoming one. They would do padrinos for the Bible, for the cake, just to help the parties, and it showed a unity of family. Today, for the weddings here, they do that also, but it's more just to cut the price of the wedding cost to the families. And it's not so much tradition with just the church and the value of what they put in the church and the beliefs. Catholic churches used to not keep track of all the names of who was getting married, so you could go from place to place and have several husbands or wives. So today, in tradition, what the churches do is they keep accurate records, and they communicate with other churches through all over the world to keep track record of who's getting married to who and where and when. Back in the days in Mexico, you could go to a church and hear the priest announce who was getting married, and they would do this several times throughout the month so that all the churches would announce to make sure that somebody wasn't trying to be sneaky and getting married more than once.